Welcome to Cranford's Corner, where sports meets insight and predictions are made. I'm your host, D Money, and every day we dive into the latest sports news, break down the biggest games, and make bold predictions that keep you ahead of the curve. From the gridiron to the hardwood and everything in between, I've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and let's talk sports like never before. This is Cranford's Corner, your front row seat to all things sports. Today we're talking about standout performances and underdog victories. First on the list is the LSU Florida game. Florida beat LSU 27 to 17, to 16. And hey man, that quarterback DJ Lagway returned and Florida upset number 21 LSU for first series win since 2018. Lagway went 13 for 26 for 226 yards with one touchdown. Bo had six rushing attempts for 65 yards and one touchdown, and Jackson had six attempts for 37 yards and one touchdown. Badger had six catches for 131 yards and one touchdown, and Dyke had two receptions for 47 yards, and Hanson, Livingston, and Jackson combined for three catches, equaling 41 yards. The defense combined for seven sacks, while the kicker went 2 for 2 on field goals and 3 for 3 on extra points. I must say, Florida looked very formidable, even though they're 5-5 on the year. Although the college football regular season is ending, the excitement is far from over. Week 12 proved to be another thrilling week with countless dramatic upsets and fantastic finishes that proved to shake up the playoff scene. With that being said, you know the drill. Here are some of Week 12's greatest upsets, top performances by players, and marquee matchups for the coming week. Kansas versus BYU. Kansas beat BYU 17 to 16. Star running back Devin Neal and his Kansas Jayhawks traveled to Providence, Utah on a mission to upset the sixth-ranked team in all the land, the BYU Cougars. In his already record-breaking season, Neal rushed for the Jayhawks' only two touchdowns of the game on only 14 total carries. This is Kansas' second upset win in a row after knocking off number 17 Iowa State the week before. Two more wins, and the Jayhawks will become bowl eligible after seeing nearly improbable due to a 2-6 start. Next, we have New Mexico and Washington State. New Mexico had 38, while number 19 Washington State had 35. Led by sophomore quarterback Devin Dampier, the unranked New Mexico Lobos gave a steaming hot Washington State team all they had to upset them 38-35 in stunning fashion. With 21 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Dampier used his legs to score the game-winning touchdown to stun the Cougars. On the ground, Dampier ran for 193 yards on 28 carries with three touchdowns. In addition, the field general also tossed for another touchdown, completing 11 passes for 174 yards. Our next upset will be the Florida versus LSU game. Florida had 27, while number 22 LSU had 16. Under the reign of third-year coach Billy Napier, the Florida Gators have struggled this season while playing one of the toughest schedules in all of college football. Full of young talent, the 4-5 Gators knocked on the door of defeating SEC heavyweights like Tennessee and Georgia, but have never been able to get the job done. However, Florida took care of business to stun number 22 LSU at home by a score of 27-16. Coming off a hamstring injury, superstar freshman quarterback DJ Lagway completed 13 of his 26 passes for 226 yards and a touchdown, leading the Gators to victory over a highly touted LSU squad. Top performances for this week. For Boise State, we have Ashton Jeanty. Again, Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty continued his quest for the Heisman Trophy to help his team defeat San Jose State in a convincing 42-21 fashion. Despite the opposing defense keying in on him the whole night, Jeanty was still able to rush for 159 yards on 32 carries, scoring three total touchdowns. The power back has been putting up video game-like numbers the entire season, scoring a whopping 26 touchdowns with 2 games left to go. Now for Oregon, we have Mateo in a hostile environment with an undefeated record at stake. Sophomore defensive end Mateo of the number 1 Oregon Ducks came up clutch, intercepting a deflected Braden Locke pass to seal a 16-13 win on the final drive of the game against Wisconsin. Mateo also recorded 5 total tackles, including a sack, to keep the Badgers off the scoreboard in the fourth quarter. South Carolina, we have Lenore Sellers. The South Carolina Gamecocks, led by star quarterback Lenore Sellers, have been on the biggest hot streak in college football, defeating previously 25th ranked Vanderbilt, number 10 Texas A&M, and number 22 Missouri, all in a row. In the Week 12 contest against SEC rival Missouri, Sellers tossed for an impressive 5 touchdowns, throwing for 353 yards on 30 attempts. Sellers has been nothing short of remarkable this whole season, wholeheartedly deserving a spot on this list. Now the games to watch: number 5 Indiana, which is 10-0, at number 2 Ohio State, who is 9-1. This game is Saturday at noon. This year, sensational head coach Curt Cignetti has proved that Indiana is not just a basketball coach. In the most important game of their season, the undefeated 10-0 Hoosiers will travel to the Horseshoe to take on the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes. This will be the ultimate task for the Hoosiers, who haven't defeated the Buckeyes since 1988. Not only that, but the matchup will also have huge Big Ten championship implications. Next up, we have number 14 BYU, who is 9-1 on the season, at Arizona State, who is 8-2. This game is Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Running back Cameron Nature Boy Scatbo has been a force this season, guiding the Arizona State Devils to an 8-2 record with Big 12 championship hopes in mind. If the Sun Devils win the matchup, their chances of making it to the Big 12 championship game would drastically increase. However, BYU quarterback Jake Ratzlaff will have other plans, looking for vengeance after being upset by Kansas last weekend. This is a must-win game for the Cougars in terms of securing a college football playoff berth. Next up, we have number 18 Army, who is 10-0, versus number 6 Notre Dame, who is 9-1 at Yankee Stadium Saturday at 7 p.m. This season has been nothing short of incredible for the Army Black Knights, cruising to an undefeated record and a top 25 ranking. On the other hand, since being upset at home by Northern Illinois earlier in the season, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame have been on fire, winning 8 straight games and making a strong case for college football playoff bid. While the matchup will take place at the historic Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, the stakes couldn't be higher for both teams as they long for a spot in the playoffs. Keep an eye out for Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard, who has been a leader for the Irish thus far. Now, if y'all bear with me, I'm going to go to my betting app and I'm going to give a few games predictions for those of you who like to bet. Forgive me today, my internet's a little slow, but we'll get through it. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Just hit the thumbs up button. Let's jump over to the NBA. See what Ken Palm says over here. See what matchups we have. We have the New Orleans Pelicans versus Cleveland Cavaliers, but I'm going to stay away from that one. Let's go to Chicago Bulls versus the Milwaukee Bucks. The point spread for this game is 7.5 points. Chicago's getting plus 7.5 for minus 110 money, while Milwaukee's giving up 7.5 for minus 120 money. The over and under for this game is set at 239.5 points. The overs at minus 115 as well as the under. The money line on this game has Chicago Bulls at plus 255 and the Milwaukee Bucks at minus 370. I believe I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks and give up the 7.5 points for the minus 120 money. Yep. Locking that bet in. That game is at 7:30 p.m., by the way. Next up, we have the Indiana Pacers versus the Houston Rockets. The point spread on this game is 7 points. Indiana is +7 for -125 money, while Houston Rockets is -7 for -105 money. The over and under is set at 231. The over pays out -125, while the under is at -105. The money line for this game has the Indiana Pacers at +195 and the Houston Rockets at -270. I believe I'm going to take the Houston Rockets and give up the 7 points for -105 money. Locking that bet in. If you have any games that you want my expertise on, just drop it in the chat and I'll handle the rest. Next up, we have the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, for the Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant still out. Don't know when he'll be returning, so they are playing without Ja Morant. The point spread for this game is set at 3.5. It's -3.5 for Philadelphia at -120 money, and it's +3.5 for Memphis Grizzlies at -110 money. The total score on the over and under is set at 223.5. The over pays out -120, and the under is -115. The money line for the 76ers is set at -185, and for the Grizzlies, it's +140. I'm going to have to go with the -3.5 points for the 76ers at -120 money, and I'm locking that in. Next up, we have the Portland Trail Blazers versus Oklahoma City Thunder. The point spread for this game is 11.5 points. It's +11.5 for the Trailblazers at -115, while it's -11.5 for Oklahoma City, which is at -120. The over and under is set at 223.5 points. The over pays out -115, and the under at -120. The money line is set at +475 for the Trailblazers and -825 for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm probably going to go with Oklahoma City and give up the 11.5 points for the -120. Like y'all know already, I always play 12-leg parlays. I'm just going by what the Ken Palm has here, but I'll probably go in on most of these games and play another 12-leg parlay and do player props. I seem to do a little better with the player props. So Oklahoma City Thunder -11.5 for -120. My final bet, locking it in. Next up, we have the Atlanta Hawks versus the Golden State Warriors. The point spread for this game is 7.5 points. Atlanta Hawks is +7.5 for -110 money, while Golden State Warriors sit at -7.5 for -120 money. The over and under for this game is set at 238.5, and the over pays out -125, the under -105. The money line for the Hawks is set at +255, while Golden State sits at -365. Golden State, they've been on fire here as of late, so I'm actually going to rock with Golden State, give up the 7.5 points for the -120 money, locking that bet in. Again, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, like and share the stream, please. Next up, we have New York Knicks versus the Phoenix Suns. The point spread for this game is 5. New York Knicks is giving up 5 at -115, and Phoenix Suns is +5 at -115. The over and under on the total score is set at 224.5 points. The over is at -120, while the under is at -110. If you bet on the money line, the New York Knicks is sitting at -210, while Phoenix Suns is at a +155. I'm going to take the New York Knicks and give up the 5 points for the minus 115 money, locking that bet in. Let's see. Let's see who's next. Let me find some more here. Again, you may want to go into player props if you're on DraftKings or MGM bet, whatever you're on. I'm not. This will be the last NBA game for me. It's the Orlando Magic versus the Los Angeles Clippers. Now I like the Clippers. I love their team, but they just can't get it together. Orlando's been on a little hot streak here as of late. The point spread is sitting at 3.5 points. Orlando's giving up to 3.5 at minus 115. The Clippers, they're sitting at plus 3.5 for minus 115. The total score for over and under is set at 20.5 points. The over is paying out minus 110, while the under is sitting at minus 120. The money line for Orlando Magic is sitting at minus 170 and plus 125 for the Los Angeles Clippers. Like I said, Orlando's been playing pretty good. Seems like the Clippers can't get it together. So my bet for this game will be Orlando Magic giving up to 3.5 points for minus 115 money, locking that bet in. Okay, college basketball. I'll give you a few of these. Today at 9 o'clock p.m., we have Illinois versus Alabama. They have Illinois' money line at plus 260. They have Alabama's at minus 390. Of course, we already know Alabama's going to win this game. It's just how bad they're going to beat Illinois. Um, Now they're giving on the point spread 8.5 points, sitting at minus 125 for Illinois and minus 110 for Alabama, giving up to 8.5. The over and under is set at 167.5. The over is at minus 120, while the under is at minus 110. Um, I'm going to give up to 8.5 points to Illinois and take Alabama at minus 110 money, locking that in. Um, let's see who else we can go with here. There are some hockey games. A lot of people don't do the hockey, but if you are into the betting on the hockey, then just drop it in the chat and I'll give you the game predictions and analytics on that as well. Um, don't want to do a lot of college basketball today, so I will do a few more of these games though. I know I'm supposed to be doing the bigger games, but there are no real big games today, really. Bunch of small games. I'll do about 9 more of these before we wrap it up. Let's go to Long Beach State versus Gonzaga today at 9 o'clock. Point spread for this game, Gonzaga is giving up 34.5 points. That's the point spread. Gonzaga is sitting at minus 110, giving up to 34.5, while Long Beach is plus 34.5 at minus 125. The over and under is set at 151.5. The over paying out at minus 120, while the under is paying out at minus 115. They only have one money line on here. The other one's locked out. The money line is for Long Beach State at plus 7,500. 34.5 points, that's a lot of points to be given up in basketball, but I believe Gonzaga can do it. So I'm going to lock this bet in and give up the 34.5 points to Long Beach State and bet with Gonzaga for minus 110 money. I'm locking that in. Let's find another one here. Today at 10 o'clock, we have San Jose State versus USC. The point spread for this game is plus 17.5 for San Jose State at minus 120. USC giving up 17.5 points for minus 110. The total score, the over and under, is set at 142.5. The over paying out minus 110, while the unders at minus 120. The money line for San Jose is at plus 910, while USC money line is at minus 3,300. I'm going to take USC and give up the 17.5 points for minus 110 money. Yeah, and I'm locking that in. Okay, let's see who else. How about Idaho State versus UCLA? Point spread is set at 25.5 points for this game. Um, Idaho State's at plus 25.5 for minus 125 money, while UCLA is at minus 25.5 for minus 105 money. Now the over and under is set at 130.5 points. The over is paying out minus 120, while the under is at minus 110. Again, UCLA does not have a money line set, but Idaho State is sitting at plus 22.25. I'm going to take UCLA. I'm going to give up the 25.5 points for minus 105 money. Northern Colorado versus California Baptist. I've never even really heard of California Baptist, but the point spread for this game is set at 6.5 points. So since it's not that big of a point spread, this ought to be a pretty close game. Uh, Colorado Bears is at plus 6.5 for minus 130, while California Baptist is giving up 6.5 at plus 100. The over and under set at 152.5. The over is playing out at minus 110, while the under is at minus 125. The money line for the Northern Colorado Bears is at plus 170, while it's at negative 240 for California Baptist. I believe I'm going to take California Baptist and give up the 6.5 points for the plus 100. That's positive money. And I'm getting points, giving up points, but it is what it is. Locking California Baptist is giving up the 6.5 for plus 100. And that would be my 12th pick for my 12-leg parlay. So that will do it. Like I said, for those of you like the hockey, there's a game today at 10:30, Buffalo Sabres versus the Los Angeles Kings. The puck line on this game is set at 1.5 goals. The Buffalo Sabres, they're at plus 1.5 goals for minus 205, while the Kings is giving up 1.5 goals for plus 143. The over and under is set at 6. The over is paying out at minus 105, while the under is at minus 130. The money line for the Sabres is at plus 125, and for the Kings is at minus 170. I'm going to take the Kings on the money line for minus 170 here. Um, let's see. Tomorrow, Carolina Hurricanes versus the New Jersey Devils. The puck line is set also for this game at 1.5 goals. Uh, the Hurricanes is at plus 1.5 for minus 260, while the Devils is giving up 1.5 for plus 185 money. The total score is set at 6. The over paying at minus 130, while the unders at minus 105. The money line is set for the Hurricanes at minus 105 and minus 135 for the New Jersey Devils. I'm once again going to go on the money line with the New Jersey Devils at minus 135. Locking that bet in. Colorado Avalanche versus Washington Capitals. This game, the puck line is set also at 1.5 goals. Colorado's at minus 1.5 for plus 160, while the Capitals is at plus 1.5 for minus 225. The over and under for this game is set at 6.5. The over is at minus 110 and the under is at minus 120. The money line is minus 150 for the Avalanche and plus 105 for the Capitals. Again, we're taking the Avalanche on the money line, minus 150 money, locking that bet in. I'll give you probably 3 more of these hockey games. Let's see. Like I said, I really not into betting hockey too much, but I will here and there, and I do. So here we have the New York Islanders versus the Detroit Red Wings. The puck line is set once again. Everybody's puck line is set at 1.5 goals for some reason today on the hockey. Uh, the Islanders is at minus 1.5 goals for plus 195, and Detroit is at minus 275 for plus 1.5 goals. The total is set at 6. The over is paying that at minus 120 money, while the unders at minus 115. The money line for the Islanders is at minus 125 and minus 115 for the Red Wings. I really hate to give a prediction on this one because it's so close. So what I will do, I'm going to bet the total on this. I'm going to bet the under 6 goals for minus 115 money, locking that in. Let me see if I can give you one more. Actually, I'll give you 2 more. Let's see. Let's go with the Utah Hockey Club versus the Boston Bruins. The puck line is set also at 1.5 goals. Utah sitting at plus 1.5 goals for minus 190. And the Bruins at plus 135 minus the 1.5 goals. The total score on this, the over and under, is set at 6. The over is at minus 105, while the unders at minus 125. The money line for Utah is set at plus 130 and minus 185 for the Boston Bruins. I'm going to go with the money line and go with the Boston Bruins at minus 185. Locking that in. Vegas Golden Knights versus the Ottawa Senators. Um, I do, however, like the Golden Knights. The puck line for this also set at 1.5 goals. Vegas Golden Knights is plus 1.5 for minus 280, while the Senators is minus 1.5 goals for plus 195. The total score on this, on the over and under, is set at 6. The overs at minus 130, while the unders at minus 105. The money line for the Knights is sitting at minus 115 and minus 120 for the Ottawa Senators. Um, I'm actually going to go with the under 6 goals on the total score on this one also for minus 105, locking it in. And for the last one today, we're going to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus coming off of a win. The puck line is set at 1.5 goals. For Tampa Bay, it's minus 1.5 for plus 120, while Columbus is giving up 1.5 for minus 170. The over and under is set at 6.5 goals. The overs at minus 115 and the unders at minus 115. The money line for the Lightning is at minus 195 and plus 140 for Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm going to take the Lightning at minus 195, even though Columbus is just coming off of a win. So locking that in. And that will conclude today's segment. Thanks for joining. See you next time.